Michael Saylor, the man, the myth, the Bitcoin legend, just dropped a bombshell. He's forecasting Bitcoin to hit 13 million by 2045. Yeah, you heard that right. And that's just his base case. Stick around because we're going to unpack this wild prediction and explore how hundreds of trillions of dollars are set to flood into Bitcoin. This is a revolution and you don't want to miss a second of it. Let's roll.
I want to talk about the Bitcoin revolution, and I also want to talk about rebuilding our global economy with digital capital. The world, as we know it, based on 20th century ideas and 20th century technology. If we want to prosper in the 21st century, we need new ideas, and they need to be based on new technology.
I love how Saylor started his speech by highlighting the flaws of our current financial system, calling it, well, in a nice way, outdated and inefficient. He also pointed out that the world's wealth, a whopping 900 trillion, is stuck in 20th century assets that are decaying faster than your grandma's Depends.
That 900 trillion, it's spread across physical assets and financial assets. So physical assets you might think might last 1,000 years, probably about 50 to 75 years is the best you're going to do. Many individuals and most corporations, they use financial assets to preserve capital. On average, a financial asset is going to last you 30 years. We all know inflation dilutes the value of financial assets. You're also going to get diluted by tariffs and tolls and torts and transfers, income tax, capital gains tax. Every time you vibrate and move the money, you get taxed on the money. And then if the taxes don't take you and the torts don't undo you, you've got weather and competition and obsolescence and politics, catastrophe. Those are the things that dilute the value of your capital over time. And if you want to maintain economic energy, you have to fight against that friction.
He used the analogy of energy to explain money. Traditional assets like cash, bonds, even real estate lose their value over time due to inflation, maintenance costs, taxes, and risks.
Energy is money or capital or wealth. You could use them interchangeably for this speech. Frequency is about the duration or the lifespan. How long will it take? A minute, an hour, a year, a century? And we vibrate money every time we trade with each other, or we transfer from one locale to another, or we transform a property into another type of asset. If you're looking for the useful life of your money in an asset, then the way to figure it out is ask, how much does it cost every year to maintain that asset in pristine condition? What do I have to spend in order to avoid depreciation?
So how does Bitcoin stack up against other assets in terms of longevity? Bitcoin is different. It's digital capital, immortal, immutable, and immaterial. It's not affected by the usual suspects like inflation, weather, or politics.
China.
It's the Wolverine, or honey badger, if you will, of assets. You store your wealth in Bitcoin, and it's protected for centuries, even millennia.
It's got an infinite lifespan. It's not being attacked by the forces of weather and entropy and inflation. It's immaterial in the sense that it's not in the physical world. It's not suffering from all of those parade of horribles that are the scourge of financial and physical assets. And it is the solution to our economic dilemma. The transformation of our capital from financial and physical assets to digital assets, it solves the problem that we're all facing.
A Ferrari lasts about 5 years before maintenance costs eat you alive. A house in Miami Beach? 17 years if you're lucky. Gold might give you 62 years. But Bitcoin? If managed well, it can last for 1,000 years, 10,000 years if self-custodied, and potentially 100,000 years if maintained by AI.
Say you custody your Bitcoin. You can self-custody your Bitcoin for about 1 basis point a year, assuming you buy good hardware wallets and signing devices and spend a day a year to keep track of it. Now you've got a 10,000-year asset. And what happens if you give it to the AI? Well, an AI or a computer program can maintain those private keys for the cost of electricity. you've got a 100,000-year asset.
Imagine holding an asset that doesn't decay, but appreciates over time. He called this the transformation of capital from physical and financial assets to digital assets. In other words, Bitcoin is the ultimate safe haven.
Digital assets are in a class all their own. When you compare them to all the other assets that you can use for capital preservation, you can see they're off the scale. Everything else is living in the domain of 30, 40, 50 years, and you're in the domain of 1,000 to 100,000 years. It's a breakthrough in capital preservation, but it makes it a revolution in economics.
Guys, we're talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars flooding into Bitcoin. It is more critical than ever to get your Bitcoin off of exchanges. The nation states are here and take self-custody. That is the revolution, which brings us to a perfect spot to recognize our sponsors, the Bitcoin Way. If you're looking to learn how to Bitcoin, how to properly secure your Bitcoin, you might want to head on over to the newly revamped Bitcoin Way website where you can begin your road to Bitcoin sovereignty today. If you're looking to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, go ahead and use that link below in the show notes. You're going to want to check this out. Saylor projects that Bitcoin will account for 7% of global wealth by 2045, with a market cap of 280 trillion. To put this in perspective, that's 280 times its current market cap.
How much is digital capital worth? Take the $450 trillion, multiply by 3%. That's your entropy cost or your inflation cost. It costs the world $13.5 billion a year to take all of those parade of horribles when they're trying to preserve their wealth. If you put a 20 P to E on it, like you'd value a company or a long duration bond, that's worth $270 trillion. So digital capital is worth 10, 20, 15 trillion a year and is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. Here's my macro Bitcoin forecast. It's 21 years. Goes out to the year 2045. What do I think will happen? Well, I've got a bear case and a bull case, but what I think will happen is that 55% ARR goes to 50%, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. It's between 50 and 20. It'll gradually decelerate till it's growing about twice as fast as the S&P index. And at that rate, Bitcoin's $13 million a coin in the year 2045. 13 million. It could be a 3 million bear case. It could be a 49 million bull case. But what is Bitcoin? 7% of the world's assets then. What about the rest of the assets? Well, I actually think that AIs and technology are going to revolutionize tech. So clearly, equity is going to grow fast. Gold's going to get demonetized. Land will be less monetized. But look, here's the future in 2045. Doesn't look that revolutionary. It looks like today. It's just that Bitcoin is visible on the chart to you. When Bitcoin is visible, that's going to be the base case.
According to Saylor, the key to building wealth in the future is to invest in Bitcoin now. He advocates for converting your earnings to Bitcoin, using subsidized credit to buy Bitcoin, and finding tax-efficient ways to invest. He even laid out strategies for individuals, corporations, and nations. For individuals, Saylor suggests different levels of commitment. You could be a normie with a diversified portfolio, a 10-center with 10% of your assets in Bitcoin, or go full-on Bitcoin maxi and put 80% of your assets and earnings into Bitcoin. And if you want to go all out, well, you can be a triple maxi, leveraging everything you have into Bitcoin and moving to a tax-friendly jurisdiction. The potential rewards? Astronomical.
The normie ends up with $8 million in 21 years. The 10%er will more than double that. The maxi ends up with $100 million. The double maxi 150, the triple maxi 214 million. You can see the power of leverage, and the choice is yours. And you can also see, it takes 15.9 Bitcoin to be a triple maxi. 6.25 Bitcoin will make you a wealthy person.
For corporations, he advises converting capital and cash flows into Bitcoin, issuing equity and debt to buy Bitcoin, and avoiding practices that dilute shareholder value.
Convert your capital to BTC. Convert your cash flows to BTC. Issue equity to buy BTC when it's accretive. Issue debt to buy BTC when it's accretive. Don't bleed your capital with taxable dividends. Don't surrender your capital with stock buybacks. Don't dilute your shareholders with risky, overpriced M&A activity.
And for nations, he suggests reallocating treasuries from gold and bonds to Bitcoin, issuing currency to buy Bitcoin, and supporting favorable laws for Bitcoin ownership.
Buy Bitcoin, sell the paper, get rid of your gold, go long range. The subtext of this is the first country to buy Bitcoin by issuing its own currency wins.
Hey, let's not forget, Saylor is not just talking the talk. Under his leadership, MicroStrategy has amassed over 226,000 Bitcoin worth around 15 billion. And I think it's safe to say they've seen a massive return on this investment. Have you seen MicroStrategy's stock? Saylor's bold moves have turned MicroStrategy into a model for other companies looking to follow the same path.
Bitcoin is not the solution to all our problems. It is the solution to half our problems. And the important point is the other half are very complicated. They'll take a lot of people and energy. This half is simple. This is a very simple thing to solve half our problems.
Hey, Saylor's message is clear. Bitcoin isn't just another asset. It's the future of capital and money. And the sooner we embrace it, the better positioned we'll be for the financial revolution that's coming. It's here. So if you haven't already, it might make sense to get some Bitcoin just in case it catches on or something.
When Bitcoin was worth nothing, and it was not going to be worth anything for a year, Satoshi Nakamoto said it might make sense just to get some in case it catches on. If enough people think the same way, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Bitcoin is the future of capital. It's the future of money. It might make sense to get some, because it has caught on. Thank you.
Space Monkeys!
Ready to sacrifice himself for greater good.
Click now to see this shocking vulnerability revealed by Edward Snowden. Set those notifications, give us a path. Let's keep the revolution going, stay free, stay bullish, and stay tuned in. I'm your chief propagandist, Rustin, signing out. Catch you all next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.